Soul Brother emerges from the subway and jaywalks in the middle of New York traffic. He's private detective John Shaft. He stops by the shoe shine shop. There he finds out that some cats from uptown have been asking of his whereabouts. He settles up and steps back out onto the street where Lieutenant Vic and his partner are patrolling the area. Vic approaches Shaft with the kind of information that folk don't voluntarily hand over to the cops. Vic has heard rumors of something about to pop off in the neighborhood, but he's short on the particulars. Shaft brushes them off and carries on with his day. As Shaft approaches his office building, he spots one of those uptown cats in the lobby. He sneaks the cat from behind and drags him into the elevator. He then forces the cat to give up his partner's location. Shaft gets both men closed off into his office and begins to throw hands. He tosses the two goons around like babies. He sidesteps one who goes flying out of the window. Splat. He gives the other goon a more ground-friendly option. Tell him why they're following him or follow his homeboy out the window. The cat tells him that his boss Bumpy ordered them to bring him in. Shaft goes down to the police precinct to answer the whys and hows of a cat flying out of his window to his death. But Shaft ain't gonna cop out. He gives the captain the runaround, feeding him a bunch of jive. The captain gets fed up with Shaft wasting his time and leaves him alone with Vic. Vic continues his previous line of questioning with Shaft about the latest movements in the streets. Vic shares information with Shaft that he already knew. Cat who flew out of the window worked for the gangster Bumpy. Vic wants to get ahead of things before the bodies start to stack up. When Vic threatens to suspend Shaft's detective license, Shaft agrees to throw Vic a bone. Vic gives Shaft Bumpy's private phone number to settle their beef before there's blood in the streets. Shaft drops the dime and calls Bumpy. Bumpy hit him up with the old school version of, "New phone number, who this?" Shaft tells Bumpy if he wants to talk, roll by during his office hours. Shaft tries to hail a cab, but it's 1971. Brother gotta take a cab to get a cab. Because of this, Bumpy gets to Shaft's office before he does. Bumpy and his right-hand man, Willie, make themselves at home. When Shaft finally arrives, Willie cuts into him about turning his co-worker into a frisbee. Shaft takes his rightful spot at his desk. Bumpy begins to speak. Bumpy ain't tripping over his man that went through the window. He got plenty more just like him. Bumpy got a job for Shaft. Shaft jumps the gun before even hearing him out. He already expects Bumpy to come at him dirty. But Bumpy got a legit job. Somebody done snatched his daughter off the streets and he needs Shaft to find her. It's not gonna be easy because Bumpy ain't short on enemies. He's gonna need some private dick service to figure out who took his daughter. Late pause. Now Bumpy suspect that some black militants done kidnapped this girl. But if he sends his goons after them, it's gonna be militants killing goons and goons killing militants. Shaft agrees to take on the case. He then warns Bumpy not to ever think about sending goons after him again. Shaft hits the streets to find the leader of the militants, Ben Buford. He hits the corners, the stoops, the places that you might find a revolution about to jump off. Shaft goes to see Bunky, the neighborhood know-it-all, who don't know nothing. That is until you slide him some greenbacks. Then he can tell you social security numbers and blood types. He tells Shaft where the young revolutionaries are holed up, and Shaft is on his way. Well, yes, he's on his way, but first, he's got to get some leg from his old squeeze Ellie. Wherever them revolutionaries at, they're gonna still be there tomorrow. Plus, it look like old gal about to make them pots and pans sing. It's like Moses used to say, full stomach, empty balls. Keep that up and I'll return your calls. Lieutenant Vic is still grilling Shaft for information. Shaft is still giving him the shaft. Shaft is out the door, headed to interrogate the militants. He arrives. Inside, the militants are smoking weed and drinking booze. Instead of the man, these brothers are rising up against their own livers and lungs. Shaft and Ben go back like 8 tracks. They must have ran hoes together or something. Shaft hits him up with the accusation that him and his boys kidnapped Bumpy's daughter to get back at him. Ben tells Shaft that ain't how they get down. Suddenly, shots rang out. The brother staggers into the room with a hole in his gut. He dead. And check this out. These revolutionaries, they ain't got no damn guns. What kind of revolution are y'all planning? As Shaft and Ben break camp, the other revolutionaries get picked off. During their escape, Shaft has to kick in the door of a sister. Ben and him hide out until the coast is clear. Shaft then slides the sister $10 to fix her door. $10 is like $83 today. You just try to go into Home Depot looking for an $83 door and see what you can get. Ben pulls the blade on Shaft, suspecting that he set the brothers up. The sister should have took the knife and stabbed cheap-ass Shaft for lowballing her on that door repair. Anyway, Ben and Shaft pull themselves together. They step over the bodies of the dead revolutionaries and try to figure out who just hit them. Shaft calls Vic and sets up a meeting to compare notes. Shaft arrives at Vic's office and the two begin to put the pieces together. Vic tells Shaft that they ID'd a bunch of mafia hitmen arriving in New York. He also tells Shaft about some cats from Harlem who botched the kidnapping of a mafia boss. That mission had Bumpy's fingerprints all over it. With the new mob muscle in town, Vic suspects that a gang war is brewing. Bumpy's crew against the mafia, but more importantly, Bumpy's black crew against the white mafia. Black against white, bad optics for the city. The newspapers would eat that shit up. Vic gives Shaft photos of the mafia cats. He tries once again to get Shaft to reveal why Bumpy hired him. No deal. Shaft heads out to confront Bumpy, but first, he gotta get some leg. Well, actually, he's gotta put some leg on ice. Old gal tried to trip Shaft up with that reciprocal I love you confession, but Shaft dodged the bullet. Alright, I said I love you, now say it back. Nah, chick. Shaft and Ben go to see Bumpy. Old Willie wanna make things difficult. He's demanding that Shaft give up his piece before going into Bumpy's office. Shaft nugs, but Willie don't buck. Inside, Bumpy is kicked back at his desk like a black kingpin. Shaft starts out by dropping the death of Ben's men right in Bumpy's lap. With the newfound information that Shaft got from Vic, he faces off with Bumpy. Shaft accuses Bumpy of already knowing who snatched his daughter before he even hired him. It was the mafia. See, Bumpy squeezed the mafia out of Harlem, and as revenge, they kidnapped his daughter. Then, Bumpy's goons fucked up a revenge kidnapping. Bumpy confesses that he may have left out some vital details. Okay, so he knows who grabbed her, but he still don't know where they have her. Bumpy holds Shaft to their original agreement, the return of his daughter. Ben voices his objection to assisting a low-down, dirty, pimping, drug-dealing, numbers-running bastard like Bumpy. Yeah, Bumpy is into all sorts of shit. He's a Renaissance man. Bumpy accuses Ben of selling a different type of bullshit. Bumpy sells drugs to the people, but the militants are selling an aimless revolution. I mean, shit, these cats ain't even got no damn guns. They hanging out in dark rooms drinking Mad Dog 2020. Bumpy explained his plan of linking up Shaft and Ben because Ben has an army of militants at his disposal. Ben still takes offense to sacrificing one more of his brothers to save the offspring of Bumpy. Sister probably got a wop-sided afro, or worse, no afro at all. But money talks and the revolution walks. With the stakes raised, Shaft renegotiates the terms of their deal. Shaft reckons that the mafia might be laying in wait at his apartment, so he hangs back. He goes to the bar across the street, and there they are, the mafia thugs from Vic's photos. Also present is a bird that done locked in on Shaft. Shaft gets the bartender to let him stand in. Shaft goes over and he's shooting the shit with the thugs. The thugs keep watching Shaft's apartment across the street, not knowing that he's standing right before them. The bartender beckons Shaft and lets him know that the bird sitting over there wants to get plucked. Shaft ain't gonna pass up on a late night snack. Remember, Shaft is a sex machine. Shaft gets back to work. He calls Vic at home to let him know that he's got the thugs down at the bar. Vic tells him that the cops will be there shortly. Shaft asks the thugs why they keep peeping the apartments across the street. They tell him to shut up. Shaft pulls out the heat and holds the thugs at gunpoint until the cops arrive. One of the thugs spits in Shaft's face. Shaft cracks him in the head with a bottle, cuts his damn finger. Shaft was gonna go to the hospital to bandage it up, but first he gotta get some leg, some bird leg. Shaft gets the bird to his spot and this chick is sucking blood out of his finger. Shaft, you done landed a freak. The next morning, Shaft heads down to the precinct to see what Vic has squeezed out of the thugs. Vic's got nothing to hold them. Before he cuts them loose, Shaft requests a minute with him. Shaft tells the thugs that he can set up a sit-down with Bumpy if they can prove that the girl is safe. The thugs agree to a sit-down. So Shaft gets back home and this chick is still in the bed asleep. She ain't got her ass up to crack an egg or pour some hot water over some grits or none of that good shit. Couldn't even put a Pop-Tart on a napkin. Time for this chick to hit the bricks. Shaft calls Ben and tells him to get his army ready. And then he calls the thugs to set up a sit-down. Shaft gets there and he's waiting and waiting. The sumbitch shows up and drops some racist shit in the first 5 seconds. What a way to start a conversation. The 70s were wild but kind of fucked up too. The thug leads Shaft to the spot where they're holding Bumpy's daughter, Marcy. Ben follows behind. You know, Ben was supposed to have an army, but it looked like just him and 2 cats to me. Shaft and the thug enter the building. Shaft puts chrome to his racist dome. This ain't gonna be no wellness check. Shaft plans on freeing the little sister. His orders to free her fall on deaf ears. Then this little thug lets off, shoots his racist buddy and Shaft. Shaft managed to still put the dude down, but the other thug got the drop on him. He could have finished Shaft off right there, but he spared him so that he could deliver a message back to Bumpy. The thug yanks Marcy and escapes, but this leftover revolutionary got eyes on him. Ben arrives and finds Shaft shot up his shit. He gets him out of there before the police show up and finish him off. They take Shaft over to his old lady's crib and dump him on the couch. This is the reason black folk used to keep their couches covered in plastic in the 70s, to keep the blood off the fabric. Shaft gets treatment from a bootleg doctor and voila, he ready for the big payback. He calls Bumpy and tells him that the brothers know where his daughter is being held. All he needs to do is round up what's left of Ben's militants. Oh, and get some taxis for transportation. You don't want to save the day and then get caught with your dick out waiting for a cab. This is it. Time for Shaft to risk his neck for his brother man. They travel to the hotel where the girl's being held. Ben and his people get inside and begin to take over the South. Shaft lays down the plan to take down the man. His brother walked up on the front desk clerk and the cat was already asleep. He knocked the cat from level 1 unconsciousness into level 2 unconsciousness with a well-placed pistol whip. Shaft navigates up one side of the hotel and down the other, making all kinds of noise. He gets his tools together for a shock and awe attack. He scales down the building wall and tosses a homemade fireball into the room and crashes through the window, shooting the number 1 thug in the process. Ben and the revolutionaries synchronized their assault, finishing off the rest of the thugs. Ben and Shaft grab Marcy's narrow ass and rushes her out of the building into the waiting taxis. Off she goes and the mission is complete. Shaft drops a dime and calls Lieutenant Vic. He tells him that the threat has been put down. Now come clean up this shit. That Shaft is a bad mother.